Hi, everybody. It's Gabe Ignetti, and we're here for the Eco-Modernist Soapbox. Again, we are every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 4 p.m. Pacific. So I have some good news for everybody. That is a couple of surprise announcements. Is that the Eco-Modernist Society of North America is now a 501c3 nonprofit. We're tax deductible. And we will be putting that on our website. So if you want to make a tax deductible donation of a larger amount or even that small amount and write it off in your taxes, you can do that right now. Now, the next thing that is a little more exciting is that I have been invited to be a speaker on a panel for the Space Renaissance Initiative at the United Nations, and I've been invited to give a speech, and that's going to be September 15th. And I'll tell you what that is about. We're going to be talking about space and eco-modernism. I mean, what's it have to do with space? And it's a belief system, by the way, that what has gone on in the past will continue. And that continuation is that we will not be defeated by resource depletion, that we will overcome through technology. And we did a show with Simon Molyneux, and he kind of, stated, I mean, this is real, something that we have to deal with as eco-modernists, as realists. And that is that resources, critical resources, are limited in so many areas. And the only way to overcome that is through a space program, which means space mining. I mean, it sounds pie in the sky, but it's really not. It costs $1 billion to start a mine from scratch. And from what I understand, it takes 20 years to get it really running. So we're also looking at a 20-year, according to Bloomberg, at least a 20-year time gap before space becomes a multi-billion-dollar industry. Space mining, that is. It's already a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's been a multi-billion-dollar industry. And, we talk about how humans have to deal with our problems on Earth first before we go into space. Well, we could easily walk and chew gum at the same time. And the thing is this, that's the only way to ultimately overcome our critical mineral shortages. And if we do move in space, it'll be like a baby being born. I mean, you don't know where you are in a way, and you can't stand up. Then you crawl, and then you walk, and then you run. And of course, that's going to be over a long time span. And it's something that a lot of us won't even see in our lifetimes, as far as a lot of this what we're talking about. But it's a necessity for our children and our children's children that we do this. And oh my God, this long time span. Well, isn't that the same argument that we make with nuclear power? It takes 17 years before a nuclear power plant starts to turn a profit. But once it's done and you built it, that thing will turn a profit many times over. I made a speech with them. The basis of that speech was that we need to overcome our differences in order for that exponential advance of science in the service of humanity to take place. Now, we all have our disputes. And I mean, even though we could talk about the Russian invasion, the Chinese, but we're no angels ourselves. Let's admit it. We have a long history of doing bad things as well. And that's not to knock the United States. This is what humans do. There's a dark side to humanity, and we're very tribal. And that's the thing, that tribalism, that instinct to be part of the tribe instead of to break out, to break out and reach out to other tribes, to other groups. That is something that was good in the infancy of humanity. It protected us from those lions and tigers, whatever the predators were. But this is our greatest barrier. It's a simple thing. We could only do these kind of things together. Now, like, just to use an example, the Artemis program, I think it was $93 billion, and that's in 1 year. Space is hard and it's expensive and it's necessary, because without that move into space, we will run out of resources. All the cleverness that we have to make these resources work better and better works great. It's done great for us, but you can't predict the future based on what's happened in the past. So again, I'm going back to the fact that this is the belief system that ecomodernism is. It's a philosophy and it's a belief system. Without that exponential advance, it can't be done. And we're so caught up in security. And there are problems that we face that are greater challenges to our security than these hypothetical threats of war. Because let's face it, we're not going to war, or we shouldn't go to war with any major nuclear power. And there are things that are involved in our collective security, like COVID, like climate change, critical resources, which is why we have a space program. And we're facing deficits that are astronomical, and we're kicking the can down the road with that too. And I don't know that we could do these kind of space races. It could fail because we just go broke unless we join with other nations, and we're having these redundancies. We're doing it, they're doing it. Well, but if you do it together, you're combining the greatest minds. It's hard to actually take advantage of the resources on the moon. Getting stuff off the moon. The best way to do it would be, call it Star Tram. It's something like a rail gun, which is the use of magnets like maglev, only it's to accelerate into space. And of course, when you accelerate in a vacuum, you're able to do it a lot quicker. When you accelerate and you get into space, I mean, it's not as big a problem with liftoff. And now, once you send it off, it's much cheaper, because once you're in space, you're not moving against air resistance, water resistance, anything. It's a matter of days it arrives, and you could land it on Earth easily. But to do it, to get it started, is the big hurdle. And if you don't do it together, you got the threat of resource wars, even if you do succeed. And whoever gets there first dominates the whole planet. And on top of that, it further exacerbates inequality, because who benefits is the countries that could afford to go into space. All the other countries are left behind. Countries that could contribute. So we get richer and richer, and the bottom third of the world is just left to destitution. They have to buy our resources at exorbitant prices that we get very cheap from space. I mean, it's a bad, bad thing. And of course, if you have a resource war, that could lead to World War III. Who knows? But anyhow, I hope you found this conversation interesting. Stay well, and we will see you till next time.